Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we simplify complex legal cases and principles for you. Today, we are exploring the landmark Singapore Court of Appeal case of ARY and ARX in 2016. This case addresses critical issues in family law, including the division of matrimonial assets, maintenance for a spouse, and the legal principles of common intention constructive trusts and resulting trusts. The case revolved around a marriage that lasted 15 years between ARY, a Turkish national, and ARX, a Scotswoman. They had 2 children and lived in various countries due to the husband's career. Now, listen carefully when I mention the dates. They separated in June 2009 when the husband left their rented matrimonial home. The husband continued to pay for the rent and the children's expenses and gave the wife $1,200 a month. The husband filed for divorce in February of 2010, and an interim judgment was granted in October of 2010. The ancillary proceedings began in June 2012. Ancillary proceedings refer to hearings where the court decides on maintenance, custody, care and control, and the division of matrimonial assets. The High Court held that the operative date for determining the pool of matrimonial assets was the date the ancillary proceedings began, which was in June of 2012. Based on that date, the assets amounted to $1.47 million. The husband obviously didn't want his wife to get so much, so he argued that the operative date should be the date of separation, i.e. June of 2009, or the date of interim judgment, i.e. October 2010. Based on those dates, the assets amounted to $966,000 or $1.29 million respectively. His argument was rejected by the court. The Court of Appeal took the opportunity to clarify the law on the appropriate starting date for determining the pool of matrimonial assets. In setting out the law, the Court of Appeal noted the following points. Number 1, Section 112.10b of the Women's Charter defines a matrimonial asset as one acquired during the marriage. The Court of Appeal stated that while a court has the discretion to select the appropriate operative date, the discretion is neither free nor unguided. For example, in the case of Yeo Chong Lin and Nancy Tan, the Court of Appeal identified 4 possible operative dates. In chronological order, they are the date of separation, the date the writ of divorce was filed, the date of interim judgment, and the date of the ancillary matters hearing. Generally, the date of interim judgment has particular appeal, as it would be unrealistic to treat assets acquired beyond that date as matrimonial assets. Once an interim judgment is granted, the marriage has for all practical purposes come to an end. Further, the interim judgment indicates that the parties no longer intend to jointly accumulate matrimonial assets, and the court recognizes that there is no longer any matrimonial home, no consortium vitae, and no right on either side to conjugal rights. The Court of Appeal also stated that there is no reason why the actual division should not be done when the interim judgment is granted if all the relevant material is before the court at that time. It does not accord with good sense to encourage parties to drag out ancillary proceedings. The parties should be enabled to arrange their financial affairs and move on to a different phase in their lives. The Court of Appeal concluded by stating that unless the circumstances or justice of the case warrants it, the default date for determining the matrimonial assets should be the date in which the interim judgment is granted. The court must exercise care when departing from the default position and should give reasons when it does so. This is because it also has the discretion to determine the date at which the matrimonial assets should be valued and the discretion to determine how the matrimonial assets should be divided. The court, however, found reasons to go even further than the date of interim judgment in this case. The Court of Appeal noted that the wife continued to look after the children after the granting of the interim judgment. But more importantly, between that point and the commencement of ancillary proceedings, the husband had received a tremendous financial windfall in the form of salary and bonuses. This windfall resulted in an increase of 50% in the value of the matrimonial assets. Given that the wife's care of the children and the household before the grant of the interim judgment could have contributed to the husband's ability to earn the salary and bonuses, there was a sufficient justification in view of all the circumstances of the case to use the date of the commencement of ancillary proceedings as the operative date rather than the date of interim judgment. So that's the main takeaway for the case. Thank you for joining me in this case summary. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.